All righty. Let's get this show on the road. How is everybody feeling tonight? We are almost to Halloween, and I cannot wait. We only got 2 hours until the beginning of this live stream, and it'll be Halloween morning, I guess I should say. But it's also Friday, which is the best day to have Halloween because it's the end of the work week, right? So that's even better. So welcome all in, and I hope everyone is having a fantastic work week and hopefully are looking forward to the weekend. Maybe you guys have gone to some haunted houses, or maybe you guys have decorated enough this year to live your own haunted house in your own house in your own yard. So yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun. It always is for me because it's my favorite time of the season. Hello, Henry. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. I appreciate it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this topic of what are your fish keeping goals. I had recently, within my last live stream, if you guys haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you doing so. And Jorge Mexicali Fishkeeper has also did an interview with Prodigal Aquarist, Don, and which is very good. I checked that out today. And then like I said, I'd also in my last live stream talked with Don for a little bit, and he asked me a very good question, about what your goals are and what do you do to achieve them. And I think those are it's a really good question for people, and I think it's good to talk about it. But I'm going to wait for a few more people to get in here and hang out for a little bit, because not very many times you hear that from the fish community. You hear a lot of things about lighting and filtration, the new fish they got, what they do to update their aquarium. Let's see, what else? Water changes and that sort of thing. There's a lot of topics of, what they're going to put in their fish tank, what new things they're going to do to their fish room, what things they're getting rid of, that sort of nature. But I've never seen anyone actually, I'm glad Don brought it up from Prodigal Aquarist that you don't really hear anyone talk about their goals in the fish keeping hobby. How long do they want to do their fish keeping career? How long do they want to, not that it's, I kind of look at it as, is fish keeping a career? Because it kind of is. It's a lot of work to, it can be a lot of work depending on what you keep, what your plan is for the future. And it could be a lot of work, and it can be a full-time job. So, it can be somewhat of a career, I guess you could say, in a sense. But yeah. Sketty and me are thinking of you to put seg shellies in that tank from the shore. Okay. I haven't done those before, so we'll have to see if my local fish store will have those. But yeah, I'm glad that you guys are suggesting that, and I'm hoping that this live stream too, well, people can give some suggestions as well. Because what I'm probably going to have to do, Henry, is I'm probably going to have to fill the tank up first, because the black diamond blasting sand, I want to make sure that's all cleared up, because that stuff takes forever to rinse out and get all of the dust and all that stuff out of there. So I'm more than likely going to have to choose a filtration, probably temporarily. I do have airline hose still over there from my breeding project that I was doing before, from my 255 gallons over there. So I do still have airline and the airline attachments connected. All I got to do is just connect an airline. So I could use sponge filtration too. And what I thought about doing actually is not only do I have plenty of seeded media from my sponge filters, is I could probably borrow a sponge filter from another tank, put it in the 75-gallon temporarily for a few months, along with whatever filter is in there, and then put another one. I could probably put another filter in one of the other tanks for the time being that have two sponge filters in it too. I quite haven't decided what I'm going to do about that yet. But yeah, I'll have to look at it. They just call them Shelleys. Like, if I look them up on Google, I don't know a whole lot about Shelleys. I know that Mexicali Fishkeeper has them, Jorge. Let's see. African shell-dwelling cichlids. Small freshwater fish from Lake Tanganyika. They use abandoned. I'm just reading here from Google. Snail shells for shelter and breeding. They can also refer to a brand of breeding fish products as sea fish. They're Lake Tanganyika, so I didn't know that they were from Tanganyika. Sandy bottoms depend on empty shells for a home. They are known for being territorial, but can be kept in large colonies if there are enough shells. Minimum of 10 to 20 gallons is recommended, with a long tank being preferable. Sand substrate, of course, and water parameters. Seems like the pH is 7.5 to 9, which is great. They'll eat flakes, small pellets, and so it seems like a pretty easy fish to take care of. Even Aquarium Co-op has stuff about shallows and stuff. So, but yeah. And they'll move the sand around a lot, so that works too. But yeah, good thing to see there. So yeah, there are a whole lot of ideas. I appreciate the suggestion too, Henry. I do really appreciate it. So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know Don from Prodigal Aquarist, like I said, he's been a great gentleman to talk to. He let's see here. He has the differences of opinion on my goals per se, but which was okay because it was okay for him and I to discuss our differences, respectfully, and we did, and it ended up being a great conversation. Same with the previous live stream that I had. I went through the comments of between me and another person. I didn't know him personally, long story short, but it ended up being a great conversation, even though we had a differences of opinion on pre-sponge filters. So, yeah, it's nice to be able to see that. Henry says they will make hills in your tank, just kind of like African cichlids. I mean, my Mbuna tank, that's all they do is dig in the sand. Same with the Geophagus, they do that too, but I'll be kind of interested to see what type of hills they make, especially with the black diamond sand. But that's very interesting. I'm going to pin this here once I find it. I'm going to open up my live stream and go ahead and let's see. I can copy and paste. Let's see, invite guest, copy, and then I'm going to post this in here. And it can easily make big hills too. And then I will go to my channel and go ahead and pin that one there. So let me pin this comment. All right. So that'll be on the top for anyone who wants to join in. But at any rate, it's good to be here. I'm glad that I was able to schedule this out. I know it's kind of I guess you could say kind of a short notice, but I tried to, like I said, Henry, for posting it on Jesse Salient's Discord, because I knew you'd probably see it because you seem to be pretty, at least active on there, sort of say. And I hope that everyone can enjoy this live stream as much as I do, because I think goals are really important to talk about. I don't know. There's 5 people here. I haven't seen anyone on Facebook yet, but whoever's in here can come in and say hello if they want. I am streaming on Facebook. I'm using StreamYard, going through Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. So hopefully this will grab some attention for me. And I've also, Ben's here, Lake Missoula Aquatics and Plants. So thanks for coming in. If you haven't seen my short, go ahead and check that out there, Ben. It's about this Sunday. I'm really hoping it works out. But like I said, I probably have to fill my tank up first. But I made a short to see what tank that, my 75-gallon, what I want to do with it. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to go to the local fish store and just look at some fish and stuff, and have you guys kind of pick what I want to put in my tank. I think it'd be a lot of fun. It'd be a nice, good test run. Henry, what kind of fish go well with shallows? Do they just go by themselves, or because there's been one of those, I guess maybe bucket list fish that I have. It wouldn't be necessarily like a big bucket list fish, but it would be like, I've always really liked the rainbow fish, because of their different coloration patterns and stuff, and they seem pretty peaceful too. So I know that others have suggested a community tank, which I haven't done in a long time. Since my 46-gallon boat front, I had mollies, yo-yo loaches, zebra danios, Corys. What else did I have? Remy nose tetras. So my whole goal is to have something completely different. That was the whole purpose of that short. Okay, so you have yours with guppies. So are you saying probably just a fancy tail guppies, I'm assuming, that you get, pretty much anywhere, male to female, I'm assuming? Because they'd probably breed like rabbits, I'm assuming. It'd be cool, though. It'd be neat to see. I guess it's just kind of nice to be able to see something different in the hobby. And I think that's why eventually at some point, like I've talked before, whenever I get rid of my, I should say get rid of, because it's going to probably take a while. But when I have the rest of my breeding project done over there on my 260s and 275s, I want to work on getting that one big tank that I've always wanted to dream of and build it, out of plywood, and have like my own big tank with like bala sharks and peacock bass and that sort of thing. Something's going to be big. Okay, so shallows stay mostly at the bottom of the tank. That's good to know. My local fish store keeps butterfly fish and other top water fish with his. Okay, so let me look that up too. Butterfly fish. So the thing that came up was actually a saltwater, unless I'm looking at the wrong one there, Ben. And I thought shallows stayed at the bottom anyways, and guppies are pretty peaceful too, so I could probably share my screen, if anything. It'd be kind of cool to look some of this stuff up. But let's see here. Bottom to middle of the tank. Okay, that makes sense. I want to get into the topic a little bit. So that way the people that come in early, and for Don, Prodigal Aquarist, that's come in, that way we're about like 15 minutes in. So that way he can kind of scroll through, and hopefully I can maybe pin it too, that about 15 minutes in is when I start talking about the topic and your goals and stuff before I get too in depth of anything else. African butterfly fish. Let's see here. Let me look that up real quick here, and then we'll African butterfly fish. Okay. Those are neat looking. I'm trying to think here if I can, let me see if I can share a screen here. Let's do this one. So is this what you're talking about, Ben, Lake Missoula? We can even show it on the big screen here. This is kind of like what I'm seeing. Those things are crazy looking. I feel like some of these things would be insane to find at a local fish store, because I've never seen them before. Some of these are really, really interesting looking. I've never seen something like this before. Then again, I've never looked for these too, though. That's cool. New Local Austin is do better a goal, or does it need to be more detail? I want consistent improvement and finishing projects in the fish room. It can be as little or as detailed as you want, and anyone is more than welcome to come in on my live stream as well, and we can have a discussion about it too. So if new look awesome, if you want to come in and hang out for a little bit, you're more than welcome to. My goals is kind of like brief in a sense, because when I talked to Prodigal Aquarist Don, I talked about the thing that we had a difference of opinion on was like clean water, which he was saying that clean water isn't necessarily healthy water. It's okay to live in, but it's okay to leave the tank the way it is. So that way you have all the like the mulch and muck and everything that control the nitrites and nitrates and ammonia and that sort of thing. That like the more the tank lengthens and matures, and the more that algae buildup gets settled in and stuff, the healthier the tank is, the more established it is. So he was telling me, in a long story short, when we used to have about 27 aquariums, he used to spend a lot of time cleaning those, where then he had decided that he wasn't going to do that anymore and just let the tanks do what they do, just like they do in natural life. And they were thriving and the fish were making babies, and that's the important thing too. So I guess the more I thought about it after that live stream during the next few days, I thought more in depth about it, and I said, I still love the clean water, but it makes sense also too that doing your water changes and doing your regular maintenance is kind of on my importance list too. But some of my presentable tanks, like for example, like the one upstairs that I have, there's a lot of traffic upstairs in that area, so I want to make sure that those are kind of presentable. And then so I like to keep the water clean as far as water changes, having my presentable show tanks upstairs to at least have a little bit of the same rock color along with the algae that's still sitting on the rocks. I've left a lot of these stuff downstairs. I've never cleaned any of these rocks downstairs ever since I moved everything down here. So I quit doing that. And then the other thing, I guess the main thing that I always my center point around the circle of things for my goals is to make sure the fish are happy and they're healthy and doing what they're supposed to do. And that's kind of my main goal. When I very first started the fish keeping hobby, my main goal was to have the most colorful fish, the brightest fish, just like any other person that would go to your local fish store and have the best fish possible. But since then, learning through the African cichlid hobby, learning through the community hobby, not through the saltwater fish because I haven't done that yet, learning about filtration, learning about what works and what doesn't, what fish goes with others. It was nice to have the African cichlid, but in the peacock and halves with the males and stuff, but it became really expensive, and I decided not to go that route just because it was just a money waster for me, and I didn't want to do it anymore, and I lost interest. But I still have these guys behind me, and I'm going to keep these guys forever. But yeah, that's kind of been my goals, and his goal was kind of like, what do you want to do to achieve these goals? And Neil Austin does bring up a good point that he wants consistent improvement in finishing projects in the fish room. I'm going to bring this comment back up again too, that it's nice to have that, especially when you have the time to do it. Sometimes whenever, like me, for example, I'm trying to schedule live streams and YouTube stuff as best I possibly can around a family of a 3-year-old and let's see, what's today's date? It's almost a 1-month-old. So I have to work around my schedule and stuff. When it was just me and my wife, I had a whole lot of time to go to create these breeding projects, these stands and stuff. So I think that's a really fun goal. So you could have one main big goal of keeping your fish happy and healthy. And then you could have like all these side goals of saying, oh, I want to do this stand myself. I want to do this project by myself. Or I want to add another fish tank of something that I've never done before, But my main goal is always to try to have the fish happy and healthy and keeping up with my maintenance. Because even with the family, with my busy schedule and stuff, between my work schedule, my family life, my personal life, my main goal is always to make sure to keep up with my maintenance, keep up with all my filters, do the water changes that I need to for these tanks. So even if I get behind on YouTube, my main thing is to keep these guys healthy so I can show you guys the progression, so that way nobody dies off, everyone's healthy. Like I said, knock on wood, I haven't had a fish death in this basement for several months now, and everything's been fine. I healed up the fish. It's now still sitting in that 20-gallon long that I'm going to put back in the inverted tank soon, and hopefully everything goes well with that. So that's kind of my main goal in a nutshell. as an explanation to the comment for New Locos and anybody else, is to keep everything happy and healthy, keep maintaining my aquariums so I can come back to you guys. I can come back to myself and my own personal enjoyment, to be able to watch these fish grow and develop and keep living their life to the fullest. Keep watching my fish upstairs in my 125, and I'm really looking forward to that. So, all right, let me catch up with comments here. So they can be pricey around here. This would be the I just forgot. Oh, the butterfly fish. They can be pricey around here. Probably the reason is he always has them in stock. Okay, but yeah. Hey, what's up, Jeff? Water devoid of everything isn't good. What do you mean by that, Jeff? Elaborate. Water devoid of everything. Oh, so if I'm understanding that correctly, that if you're getting rid of a bunch of your water and stuff and all the, I could be wrong on this. Maybe you could elaborate on that. That it's not good to completely clean everything out of your tank, which I've learned from mistakes on that before, even as a kid. If I do let a tank mule up and mature, I still need water changes because the KH goes to 0 and the pH drops. So yeah, and it's good to reapply all those nutrients, back in with the water changes and all that sort of thing. Yeah, no good bacteria, etc. Yeah, so I thought I was on the right path for that. So yeah, that's kind of like where I was getting at. And like I said, after the live stream with Don, I thought a lot more about it. And I said, that makes sense. In my sense, where it's clean water, the more I thought about it after my live stream, we talked about, it was like, yes, I love clean water. That's because I want to keep doing my water changes, keep up with my maintenance, like I had said. And that's kind of like my idea behind it, is having clean water. Now, if clean water means getting rid of all your water, because I've been to some local fish stores to where they deplete 90% water changes weekly at their local fish stores, and then they replace it all back with clean water, and that's all they do. And they clean all their tanks, make everything look in pristine condition, and I get it for presentable purposes, but I feel like that a lot of times when I go back to those local fish stores, some of those fish aren't there anymore because they're either turned over in the tank, or for example, a popular one around here is Pet Supplies Plus. It's just almost every time I go in that store, there's always signs that say, hey, these fish are sick, or we're monitoring these fish, or we're not selling these fish, and they're all over the tanks. So, yeah. So there's a good balance for sure, Jeff. I would agree. There's definitely a moment to where it's okay to leave your decorations alone. It's good to leave your plants alone. It's good to leave your substrate alone. I am a huge fan of deep substrate, and I don't like to bother the substrate because, a lot of that when the tank matures and develops, that deep substrate has such a huge amount of beneficial bacteria that whenever you do water changes, you never have to. You could do your filter maintenance and your water changes the same day, and you won't have to worry about losing that cycle because you have that deep substrate of huge beneficial bacteria within, even your rocks, your decor, and everything else. That's going to be able to balance all that stuff out once you do your maintenance and stuff. So I've done filter maintenance and water changes on the same day before, and even a couple weeks or a month afterwards. I mean, I've never had a fish death due to a water change and a filter maintenance done on the same day. But then again, I do have a few tanks that have pre-sponge filters, so that kind of helps lengthen the time of the filter maintenance for me. So that's kind of how that goes. Jeff says we have some local lakes that they nuked a decade ago to get rid of invasive plants. It still hasn't recovered properly. Yeah, and I can see how that would be really detrimental for the fish cycle, especially in a lake. And around here they drain the lakes, and I just around here there's almost, you have to pick a very, very interesting time to fish. You almost have to go to the same spots all the time that don't get drained all the way, because they drain the lakes late summer, and then some of the parts of the lake that are only, I would say maybe 6 feet deep, give or take, it gets up getting dry. So all that, bacteria and stuff, there's never a whole lot of fish within those areas. And you always have to look at certain spots specifically whenever they drain these lakes, because all that stuff is gone. And even when the water gets replaced because of all the snow and the winter weather and the rain in the springtime and stuff, it's great. But it's just, I never had a good experience with catching fish in those areas because they drain the lake so much in certain spots, which is weird. So I can see that happening, that if they like you say, nuked, a lake, that it would take forever for that ecosystem to build back up after years of having all that great beneficial bacteria within the natural habitat of what these fish live in, between all the algae and the muck and all that other stuff that's in there. That's good to have. That get drained here as well. Okay. Yeah. So it's crazy, like how all that has a major effect on all that. But yeah, I want to know your thoughts, Jeff. What is your now that you're in here, I'm curious to see, what is your goals for your aquarium? What is your current goals? That could be short goals, it could be long-term goals. It's a very broad statement here. So I kind of would love to talk about it and hear from you guys, either in the comments or you can join in on the live stream if you want to. So yeah. But we can still talk about more fish at the same time. So I'm all about that. Let's see. Let me look at some more shellies then. Since Henry brought it up. Let's go to Jeff says, make more fish is my goal. Now, is that goal going to change, or is that something that you're going to continue to do? Because kind of like Jody P and her husband, they have a business up and running now. So that's kind of their goal in a nutshell, I'm assuming, is all they're going to do is bring more fish into their business, keep their business up and running. That's their goal. Keep everything healthy, maintain their business, and to make more fish is your goal. That was my goal originally when I started breeding African cichlids. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a blast. That's why I'm keeping these guys behind me here, because I've had a whole lot of fun doing this. And I don't regret any of it because it's been a lot of fun. And that was my goal. But now my initial goal has changed because I don't want to make any more fish, because I got to have time to be able to do that. So, yeah, my goals have changed with just maintaining my aquariums. That's kind of my main goal as of now, is to just maintain what I have. I would love to start the 75-gallon here with something new. And then you're hopeful to supply them occasionally. Okay. So more fish and help supply them occasionally. It makes sense. I like it. Appreciate you sharing that. So let's look at these shellies too. Yeah, they have some really pretty colors. I didn't know that they had so many different types of colors. I mean, it looks like their normal color is kind of like this bluish yellow. And would you buy these things with shells with them? Like, is that the whole purpose of it? Like, you would get these guys? Like I said, I'm new to these guys. So if you guys can put any information down for me, that would be great. But is this something that if you were to get a bunch of shellies, like let's say like for a 75-gallon, if I want to put more fish in with them, how many would you guys buy? And then would you buy with the shells, of course? Would they go in and out of the shells? Or do they come with it automatically? You think your local fish stores would do that? Really neat, actually. Really quite interesting fish. Let's see here. Jeff says, I'm working on balancing the fish room needs and requirements also. Yeah, that was, I really wish I could still keep as many tanks as I did, because that was something that was always a challenge that I was willing to accept, is to keep the balance of what the requirements were for my fish room when I was breeding and stuff. I think the biggest challenge for me was to keep moving the fish as they got older. And every once in a while, I had a challenge of, whenever I first started doing this, is actually getting the eggs out of the out of the mouth of the females, and then putting them in egg tumblers. But then I got really good at doing it, and I got accustomed to just doing it, pretty well, and it worked. And then as things got older, I was getting more tanks, and that was kind of like me balancing the fish room as far as the tank numbers, making sure that they're getting moved properly as they got bigger, making sure that I'm watching over them, and of course feeding them 2 to 3 times a day. And of course, as you know, with breeding fish, and as they get real young, you have to feed them at least a couple times a day, if not 3 times a day, and then do your water changes more often, so that way they're always in a healthy tank. Nothing big water changes. I always did like a 40%, but I kept up with it probably every maybe couple weeks or so. So that was always like a big a fish room need for me at the time, is to make sure to keep up with the new fry. That was part of the biggest challenge, to make sure they were all surviving. And yes, you're probably going to get maybe 1 or 2 that's probably not going to make it, just due to either being real small or just aggression or whatever. But that always happened. But other than that, that was kind of a big challenge for me. They don't normally ship with shells. You normally have to buy your own shells. Okay. Maybe the local fish stores would just have the shells with them. I don't know. But if that's not the case, you could technically probably just go anywhere to your marine store, maybe, or I'm sure that there's some saltwater places, or even just your own seashells. You could probably just buy them and put them in the tank. Is kind of what I'm thinking. But if that's the case, I would assume they would go in and out of the shells too, which would be kind of neat. Are these guys prolific breeders too? I'm not so sure about how they act towards other fish or within other fish, and if you buy them in groups. Are these known to be like group fish? Because I really like some of these like colors. Now, if I went with Shelley's, would I have to stick with more Lake Tanganyika fish along with it and just have a Lake Tanganyika tank? Because that's what my tank is upstairs already. But in all fairness, I've never done fish like this before, so I'm kind of curious to see. Usually, normally do a 50 to 90% depending on the tank, and if I forgot I was draining a tank. Okay. That happens too. I think mine is the opposite. I think I've only overflowed a tank maybe, I want to say twice. And I've come close to where, when you're doing this, as many tanks as you do, I'm sure it's easy to, especially if you're doing it on a live stream and you're doing tank maintenance. I think that was always my biggest fear, is whenever I have, a straight line ahead of me with doing fish maintenance down here and water changes and no live stream, I can get everything done really quick, because I have just like a fully focused mind. Whereas it's more difficult to do water changes and do live streams at the same time, because you don't want to forget, oh crap, that tank is almost empty, because I've done that before. So I understand that completely. Ed, you use escargot shells. Okay. Escargot shells. All right. That looks exactly like what some of the pictures were, which is neat. So you could just buy like some empty shells of escargot snails, which is kind of neat. That makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of like what's pictured sort of in here, I guess. It has a King of DIY logo. Look at this. Do you guys see that? I think that's the King of DIY logo, isn't it? It's funny. But yeah, I really like the color of these fish. I like the suggestions. I appreciate it. Very, very neat. I hope they're not angry. I don't like this. Shellies have teeth. Now this is kind of an interesting looking fish. And does anyone know the name of this fish? That's there on the right hand side. Because it looks, I know that's Tanganyika fish, but I I remember seeing the name of this fish, but I can't recall the life of me what it is. Julia, looks like it's Julia chromis from what I keep scrolling down. All right, great. I got the answer. See, I answered my own question. Look at that. New Local Austin says, I've got Shelly's. I've got shell, but no Shelly's. I got an RO filter, but no sink. I have several projects. I have everything for, but I have trouble getting started. I am really hopeful with my new work schedule. Okay, so that's kind of your long description goals then. And I appreciate you sharing that with me, Austin. So this is like your long-term goal is that you have some projects started, but your whole goal right now is to finish these projects that you have just mentioned, which is good. And maybe give yourself a deadline, because that always helped me. That if I set myself a deadline, I would say, hey, look, in a couple weeks, I want this tank finished with fish and everything set up. So that way, between my work schedule and life schedule, I can say, hey, I can start planning things out, because I'm kind of a planner. That I like to do that sort of thing. So if you give yourself a deadline, that might even help too for certain items and put your stuff in like order. I don't know. That's something that I would do if I had some projects that I was getting done, like when I was doing my 20-gallon stand, my 10-gallon stand. So I think that's something I always like to do. Get after it, Mike. Yeah, I'm the only one I'm fluent in, Jeff, is the ones that I've raised up myself. It was the peacock and hats. Ed, let me hear some of your goals now that you're in here. Let me go ahead and stop sharing this here, and I'll come back to my muggly mug. Let me see here. What else do we got? Ed, let me hear some of your goals. Ed's replanting all of my tanks and getting ready to install automatic water change system. So this is probably like a side goal for you. Do you have a main goal that you could say? Does it wrap around the importance of keeping the fish alive and happy and healthy and that sort of thing? Because this is a great side goal for yourself that I know that I think Jesse from Sailing Aquatics, I believe that he is not necessarily an automatic water change system, but it is he uses it from his slop sink and he just turns the water on. So whenever he empties the water with the pumps and goes outside of his house, then he just uses his slop sink and just has a water line with PVC pipe that goes to each one of the tanks. So it's not necessarily an automatic water change system, but it makes it easier. So that way, when he fills all his tanks back up, they all go through that PVC and then they all go to each and every one of his tanks, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty freaking cool. If I would be able to do that, that would be great. But I just don't think that's in the future for me at the moment, because my system works well for me. What I do is, as I'm emptying one tank and I start moving down the line, I empty one tank as I'm filling another. So I've kind of developed a system to where it almost works out almost evenly, to where as I'm finishing up one, I'm starting another and that sort of thing. And it really don't bother me none, because I have enough hose line, I have enough side buckets in case I need to switch back and forth between the two as the water is running to replace the water. And I'm also emptying the water that's going into my small bathroom over here. So my system works out great. And it was just phenomenal that whenever I moved in here in 2019, that there was a unfinished bathroom down here. And then my brother was able to help me out with finishing the bathroom. So that way it was a fully functional bathroom with toilet, sink, showers, drains, and all that sort of thing. So I send all my water straight into that room, and then I replace it from my slop sink back with the Python hose and back into the tank. So it works out great. And that was a big goal for me too. Like I told my brother, I was like, hey, look, I want this bathroom to be functional. I want people to come down here from my patio down into my fish room as the first room that they see while they're hanging out in the patio, and then they can see my whole process from start to finish. And that was a huge goal for me at the time. That's where I started with do better. That makes sense. I like it, Austin. Your main goal is do better. Stop messing around. That's right. I like it. So, yeah. That's about 10:42 right now. I'm kind of curious to see if we're going to make it all the way to Halloween, because we are just about done with the spooky season, which is kind of sad. Because this is my favorite time of year. I've always been into Halloween ever since I was a kid. Love dressing up. I even dressed up probably longer than I probably should have. I'm even like doing some things to this day, to celebrate the spooky season. So I do my fair share of enjoying the October months. And it's a very comfortable part of the year too. Very nice, comfortable time of year. It's not my favorite season. Summer has always been my favorite time of year because I love, going outdoors, going swimming, going hiking, and that sort of thing. But it is a very comfortable time of year to where you can go out and put on a hoodie, be comfortable, go outside, not have to worry about being too cold or too hot. It's just very comfortable. So it's probably my second favorite season. So yeah, maybe keeping your fish happy and healthy would be some of your main goals, and then do better is one of your side goals. We should all make like a logo with our face on it, pointing fingers, because I feel like that. What is that? What's that logo of? It's like a political logo where that one guy's pointing. Maybe only like Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires. Only you can do better at fish keeping. That's funny. So yeah, what other goals do we have? I like the goals that you gave me, Ed, and Jeff as well. I appreciate you giving me your goals. Lake Missoula, thanks for sharing your goals as well. And then hopefully Henry's there. Henry, did I get your goals yet? I'd like to hear from you. I'm scrolling through the chat again. I don't see it. Is Sketty in the stream right now, actually? Uncle Sam, there you go. Thank you. It was like tip of the tongue. I could not think of it, but thank you. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right, you're still here. What goal? You have too many tanks. Maybe your goal is to have less tanks. I'm kidding. Have as many tanks as you want, because you're always telling me to get more tanks. Oh, guess what I forgot to do, Henry? You're going to test me again, and I completely forgot again. So you could probably do that same test. I think I'm going to do that after my live stream, so I don't forget. Because you're going to be you know what I'm talking about, Henry. Yeah, Jeff. That's exactly what I was thinking too. That's Henry's goal, is to downsize his 1,000 tanks that he has in his house. So are we? Let me see here. Oh, so is Jeff? Oh, he's scheduled for 11:15. Jeff Powham's Aquatics. He's always streaming late at night. I think he's Eastern Standard Time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If not, he's pretty close. He streams so late, so I'm trying to stream before him. I know this is kind of late for some, especially when it comes to the East Coast here. Henry, why did I see that coming? I already saw that coming. Your goal is more tanks. You have more time than I will ever have in my next 18 years. I think after the kids start to get older and take care of themselves, and hopefully that I can get them into the fish keeping hobby as well, as much as I have, that they can kind of help me with maintaining everything and all that sort of thing. Because I think that's kind of neat to do with your kids, is like if you get into a hobby and you really love it, and if your kids really love the hobby as well, I think that's something fun to get into. So yeah, getting your kids involved with all the stuff that you really love to do, and they love doing it just as much, I think that's just an added bonus. But yeah, we'll see how long we'll hang out here tonight. Anyone is more than welcome to come and join in. Like I said, I've pinned the join button in there on the top there, so anyone is more than welcome to stop by and hang out for a little bit. So yeah, everything else is doing healthy. Jeff, have you seen my short yet? I have a 75-gallon tank that I'm crossing my fingers that I can do a live stream on at my local fish store. And so far, Henry's and Sketty wants me to do Shelley's. I'm trying to think of how many to do, and I'm also trying to think of what to pair them with. Those Julia Chromis ones are pretty neat. But we can keep looking. Hey, what's up? Thanks for coming in, my friend. I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out. We're just talking about the subject of what are your fish keeping goals. So if you don't mind sharing while you're in here and stopping by, me and Prodigal Aquarist, we had a discussion on my last live stream, and he came in, and it was a very nice discussion. He wanted to know my goals that I had mentioned a little bit earlier. So we want to know your goals. What is your goals? Either can be long-term, short-term. There can be a very vast amount of different things that you can have. Sorry, I'm listening. There's kids upstairs, so I'm hoping that everything's okay. Just sounds like my little one. So hopefully my older one's still asleep. But yeah, African butterfly. So that was mentioned by Lake Missoula as well. So I need to start making this list on a piece of paper here so I don't forget too, because the odds of me coming back to this live stream before Sunday are probably slim because I have a busy next 2 days. So we're thinking African butterfly. I'm not sure. I've never seen, but nor have I looked for African butterfly. And Shelley's. And what was it, Ed, that said? Let me scroll back here. Oop, I went too far. Where are you at, Ed? Escargot shells. With escargot shells. But yeah, let me know your goals. I'm curious to know, Katie and Jake. Let me know what each one of your goals are for go. Holy cow, if I could talk. Let me know your goals on your fish keeping store, your fish keeping tanks, anything in your fish room. Let me know what you guys think about long-term goals, short-term goals. They could all be of different sizes as far as, time-wise. New Local Austin mentioned some goals of his, and this seems like project that he started that he still needs to finish. So we all had different goals and stuff, and you don't hear about that too much on live streams. Yeah, we were looking at pictures earlier about the African butterflies. They look really good. And they stay at the top 90% of the time. So that would be a good mixture. I wonder if I could do the African butterflies along with the Katie and Jake need to add 100 tanks. You know what they need to do? They need to tank 100 tanks from Henry, as a goal. Henry needs to give some of his tanks to Katie and Jake. That should be your guys' goal. Let's look at the African butterflies again. Maybe we can get some more pictures. Let's see here. I've never seen these before. Okay, share screen. Yeah, I would put this on the big screen here. Huh. Very neat. They're so pretty. I bet you they have like a lot of different colors. Look at the colors on the fins on this one. This one's like a. I'll put my the mug in the bottom corner here. Some of the colors on this are like orange and blue and gray. They're like stunning. They remind me of a lionfish, which is crazy. All the different lengthy fins that they have. Fish of the week. I wonder if it takes them a while to get the colors that they need to, though. They're absolutely stunning. I have never heard of these guys. Maybe I'd have to look them up on if they don't have them at a store. I'd have to look them up at like an online store, maybe order them. Yeah, very neat. Are they a type of cichlid? I'm wondering. Mini arowana, yeah, it does look kind of neat. All right, so here's your goal. Our goal is to run our inline air system. Set the PVC and make it permanent instead of temporary lines running off of them. Okay. Have you looked into getting a Gemco linear piston pump? Because that's what I have in my fish room, and it runs all of my tanks, except for the ones that have canisters on it, which are my. The one is just for air. I just have air bubblers, air stones throughout my Buddha tank. So actually, only one of my tanks. I take that back. Two of my tanks are without air. But at one point, all of my tanks were air. Okay, so just like the PVC. So this is a project you've had in the works, and then you got it started, and you just need to finish it all up. So you just need to run your air light system with the PVC. Because right now, I'm assuming you probably have like temporary lines going throughout the whole entire fish room, and it's just kind of like a cluster at the moment. So you want to run all those PVC air lines and just call it a day, so you have more room for activities. Where's that from? Where have I heard that from? Henry's goal is to have 200 more tanks. But thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. So yeah, African butterfly fish and shellies. That's what I was thinking. I was kind of envisioning in my head that you have all these lines just going everywhere right now temporarily. So it's working and it's keeping your fish happy and healthy and it's doing what you need to do. But at the same time, it's kind of like, we need to get this done. So I get it. I totally get it. Thanks, Austin. You're welcome. And thank you. You're welcome for my advice. And thank you for the support on watching. Have a good night. And we'll see you soon, I hope. Take care. I need to get good at producing from my tanks. So you're looking to like breed from your tanks then. What are you trying to breed? Is there a certain specific fish that you're trying to breed? Are they mouth brooders? Are they egg layers? Are they live breeders? Is there a certain fish that you're looking into specifically that you want to make more of to keep for your own purpose? Are you looking to give to other people in the local community? Are you looking to just give some to your local fish store? Yeah, I bet it's a mess. But yeah, that's a good goal. Give yourself a deadline. Between maybe a suggestion, because that's always what I did down here in my fish room, is I gave myself a deadline between how many tanks I wanted, what fish I wanted, what my goals were. Because if I didn't give myself a deadline, nothing would get done. I always, even when I created my 20-gallon long tank rack and my 10-gallon tank rack, I sold my 10-gallon rack, but I still have my 20-gallon because that was my very first stand that I've ever made, and I'm never going to get rid of that just for the fact that it was my very first. It's kind of like a thing that I kind of cherish myself as like that was a goal I made, and it worked, and I was very proud of making that all myself. Also, the fact that I can't get that stupid thing out of my basement because I built the sections, and I've actually attempted to take it out of my basement. And it actually doesn't fit. It's so close, and I've tried every angle. And what I did was I built it in sections outside, and then I brought the sections in here, and then I built everything back around it. So it's not leaving this house unless I cut it apart or take nails out, or not nails but screws. Sorry. Our Jahani are doing the dance in the 210. Oh, nice. Electric blue Jahani, I'm assuming. Is that the Mbuna? This is what you want to do since you want to get good at producing from your tanks. I want to get good with my CPDs. But I just got some cool fish from Jeff and David Elfish that I want to start breeding. Okay. Let's see here. I still have this. I'm kind of astounded by the African butterfly fish. Um, CPD, or whoops, CPD fish. There we go. Oh, those are okay. I've had a couple of those before. Let me see. I had a couple of these, and they're very, very small. But they ended up not working out for me, and I think because they were probably in a tank that was too small. I probably should have had a bigger tank, and they were probably stressed from the other fish that were in there. They were with, I think, oh, I'm going to butcher this. Cloud tetras? Is there such thing as a cloud tetra? Or a cloud minnow? Maybe it's a cloud minnow, I think is what I paired them with. But it was only the 2.5 gallon. They were very small at the time being, so I didn't know if just because the tank was too small. It was a tank that Branton helped me out get started with my first Planet tank, and it worked out great, but I couldn't keep up with it because of being so small. And long story short, I got rid of it because it was a tank that got neglected, and I wanted someone else to enjoy it more than I could. So this is why I'm kind of moving towards a bigger tank, for that reason. Okay, one is blue and one is brown. Okay, that's cool. Now let's see here. Let's do this. Let's share screen and let's look at that. We'll put my ugly mug down here on the bottom left here. Yeah, I forgot about these guys. Very neat. They have such a cool color pattern too. And if I wonder if these guys would go good with the Shelleys and the African butterfly fish. I don't know how big African butterfly fish get though. We have CBDs, they will eventually be moved. And Jake said our Osmani rainbows are dancing too. Oh, nice. Osmani rainbows. I bet those would be kind of neat. Maybe we can look those up too. But yeah, these celestial pearl danios, they are. Whenever I keep forgetting that CPDs is kind of what everyone abbreviates these as. Osmani rainbows. Let me look that up. Yeah. Yeah, I've always liked these fish. So that's good to see. So maybe they'll breed too. And I've really liked these fish. And I think for sure that I would want to get, this is just my personal thing. I know that I've been wanting to do, or I should say wanting to do, but I know that I want to go to my local fish store Sunday and kind of do a live stream. But like these rainbow fish, I've always really loved the look of them, the color of them. They have really neat different color patterns. So I've always wanted to kind of keep these guys. So I wonder if these guys would go well with the combination of a African butterfly fish or the Shelleys. And I'm definitely leaning towards some type of community tank fish that I could keep all together and not have any aggression. A peaceful community tank, and that sort of thing. Oh, okay. So African butterfly fish have a very large mouth, like an arowana. So they probably CBDs probably wouldn't go well with an African butterfly fish because they'd probably eat the smaller fish. I'm assuming once they get older, which makes sense. That's just my guess, though. Let's see. I got some Pseudo-Mongol luminatus and Clown Rock Achilles from Jeff. Oh, nice. What's Pseudo-Mongol? Let's look that up too. I'll write this name down too while I'm at it. BOESMANI, rainbow. All right, and then it's gonna take me forever to spell this thing out. Okay, the shellers are more likely to eat the CBDs. Okay. Okay, so it looks like my Instagram has disconnected. It looks like my live streams on Instagram only last about an hour. I just got a notification saying, once you're live, if your stream is plugged, you'll find at the top of the end of your Instagram. Instagram has disconnected the stream that currently disconnects streams after 1 hour from most users. If you want to continue streaming on Instagram, you can remove this destination from the stream and re-add it. Okay. Hopefully that doesn't mess things up. Sure, your spelling is incorrect. Okay. Let me try to pseudo-Mongol luminatus. PS pseudomonas. Oh, that's not it. Pseudo-Mongol. Boy, this is going to be fun. Luminatus. Yeah, I'm not anywhere close. Hang on a second. Let's try to find this. We'll figure it out together. Pseudo Mongol. I can't copy and paste this. Let me try to do that from my YouTube here. Let me see if I can do that because it's still live here. If I can find it here. I wonder if I can copy and paste from here. I'm going to butcher it. Luminatus rainbow fish. Okay. Thank you. Luminatus rainbow fish. Okay, so here we go. Let me stream this. Let me see if I can get this corrected now. Thank you, Lake Missoula. Share screen. That's better. Hopefully that's what you're looking for. There's a lot of different types of rainbow fish too. Those things are cool. I hope that's what you're looking for here. A lot of like a burnt red too, which is crazy. I like them though, like orange, burnt orange, red color. Those are like a good fire color. That's really neat. And their fins are insane. That's pretty cool. Very nice. Yeah. I can roll with that. I can roll with that for sure. So yeah, these are definitely some good suggestions. I got a few fish in mind. I think if it all works out on Sunday, you guys might even be able to find something that you'd be like, oh wait, you know what? That might go well with whatever. You guys might see something that might be like, oh, you know what? and especially with like the Illuminatus rainbow fish, with the bottom being black because of the black diamond blasting sand, those colors are going to pop really well. So this is like my goal then, essentially, for talking about the live stream is, of course, my goal is in the center is to keep everything happy and healthy and stuff, and having the water that's maintainable and livable. But I think this is my next goal, is to be able to keep a new fish that I've never had before, and to be able to maintain it and take care of it, and learn with it as well. So this is kind of my next goal, is to learn with having new fish in a whole different atmosphere, and then just kind of go from there, and have to monitor it more often than what I'm used to. Like all these tanks are just maintaining themselves. The Geophagus, the redhead tapajos, and the fire mouse, and my Central and South American tank, they're all doing well. The Mbunas are doing well. I have another Mbuna tank over here that's doing phenomenal. Severons, they're growing really slow, but they're doing well. My tank back here is doing great. So I really can't complain too much. I mean, my goals is just to maintain right now, and I'm doing okay at it. And I can't complain because I keep up with my water changes with my lifestyle and everything. So I think I'm doing pretty well for myself. So yeah, I'm happy how things are going. I appreciate all the suggestions and different things that you guys are giving me. I appreciate all the different goals that you guys are letting me know about. I think that's a definitely good thing to talk about for sure. I've enjoyed it a lot. I probably wasn't going to be on here. I was actually hoping to be on here all the way through till Halloween, at midnight. But I don't think I'm going to be around, that late. So, and I want to make sure that my wife is doing okay with the kids and that sort of thing too. So I want to do a checkup on them. But anyways, I appreciate everyone coming on here and giving me some suggestions for fish. Everyone that came in and left, and I know it's just kind of a late one for you guys during the week. I know weekends are a little bit easier for people to stay up and late at night and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that what I do to achieve these goals is just to keep doing what I'm doing, which I've been doing fine with. To keep doing my maintenance, monitoring my fish to make sure that not one's targeting another and that sort of thing. It was a good live stream. And I know, I figured you guys didn't leave. You guys were listening in. And Henry, thanks for coming in. Jeff, thanks for coming in. I'll let you guys migrate over to Jeff's live stream, Jeff Palaham, I think. His is going to be here in a little bit with the late night owls hangout. So at any rate, I appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out. I got some good starting fish, and then we'll take care and see you guys again soon. Yep. Water changes and everything else too. So take care, be happy, be healthy, and then we'll see you again hopefully Sunday, and maybe I'll do a vertical live stream in between then. We'll see how it goes. You're welcome. Very positive. We all need that. You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. See you guys later, and good night.